My best friend got surprised when I stood up for her after she went against me. My friend had always gotten herself into trouble, but never as bad as this. When I was 15, my friends and I got invited to a huge party with the neighboring private school kids. My friends were really excited because they knew their parties were so much wilder than the ones our classmates held. I told them that it was a bad idea because those parties were no joke. Still, my friends RSVP'd for the party despite my warning. I told them to leave me out of their plans, but they started pressuring me, saying, "Why can you just grow up and experience life for once? Nothing bad is going to happen." Another friend jumped in and complained, "You're always telling us something negative before you even try it yourself. That's such a red flag." My best friend Nicole smiled and hugged my arm, leaning her head sweetly onto my shoulder. She said, "I really want you to go with us. It won't be fun without you." I frowned and said, "Fine, but I'm only going so I can keep an eye on everyone." Nicole laughed and jokingly said, "Okay, Mom." We all laughed, but deep down, I had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. When we arrived at the party, I immediately noticed how several older teens had mixed in with the crowd. A few of them looked like they were too old to be hanging out with a bunch of teens. I recognized a few people from my school, but they were all people who had bad reputations themselves. The host of the party handed us red Solo cups filled with a weird mix of different alcohol and told us to chug it down in one go if we wanted to go in. My friends obeyed happily. I drank it and disgustingly kept it in my mouth until I reached the kitchen sink and spit it all out. When I turned around, all my friends had scattered and disappeared. I walked around to look for them. After an hour, I managed to find everyone except for Nicole. I sat on a couch to relax a bit before checking again. I spotted her after another hour, holding hands with a senior from our school that was known to have been held back after getting suspended and refusing to catch up on his classes. I immediately walked over to them, grabbed Nicole's wrist tightly, and walked out of the house to talk in the driveway. I released her wrist and yelled, "Did you do anything with him? Be honest with me, Nicole." She glared at me and said, "Look, it's funny at school when you act like our mom and try to take care of us, but outside of school it seriously gets old." I gave her a disgusted look and said, "Seriously? I don't care what you think as long as you guys are safe. So tell me, did you do anything with him?" She looked away and nodded slowly. I bit the bottom of my lip, frustrated with her, and shook my head before saying, "That's it. We're going home now. And if you refuse to go home with me, I swear that's the end of our friendship." She glared at me and said, "Well, I don't want a friend that's always judging us when we just want to have fun. So good riddance." She walked back to the party while I got into my car and drove back home on my own. After that incident, my friends basically isolated themselves from me, and I was left to go and try to find a new friend group to hang out with. But after 5 weeks of no contact, Nicole suddenly called me, sniffling and crying on the phone while explaining that she had missed her period and needed my help. I drove over to CVS and picked up a few kits before showing up to her house. I gave her a few minutes to check and she called me back in, crying into a bathroom towel to hide the sound. She looked at me with puffy eyes and said, "My parents are gonna kill me." I stared at her, knowing that she got into this mess after refusing to listen to me and breaking our friendship over a guy and a wonderful experience. But a part of me couldn't leave her like this. I asked her to stay in the bathroom until I was done talking to her parents. I took a few of the tests and called over her family to the living room to speak. I told them, "We went to a party a month ago and now she's pregnant. I know you're disappointed in us, and I'm really sorry, but she's really scared and she really needs her family to help figure this out." Her family stared at me and began screaming and crying at each other and at me. But once they were calm, Nicole walked out of the bathroom, crying and saying sorry to her family. She hugged me and apologized to me for being a stupid coward. Her family thanked me for being a good friend, and Nicole agreed, asking me to be friends again. I said no and walked out.